Originally, I had planned to announce my League starter today, but maybe a bit like many of you watching, I have a problem, and a confession. The confession is, I'm still undecided. The problem is, I haven't chosen a League starter yet, because the options are just so good. And there's so much uncertainty with Scourge modifiers, and the content itself, how strong it's going to be, how dangerous, as to what to play. So here I am with less than 24 hours, less than 12 by the time you're seeing this video, before the League, trying to decide between two options. I ended up not opting for the Shield Crush build, simply because I was tired of a number of people asking me, are you sure it's not nerfed? These are big nerfs to the completely irrelevant portion of the damage. So let me be clear. The base damage on Shield Crush accounted for less than 1/5 of the total damage of the skill. And the scaling was buffed. So if you have a terrible shield, you're using like a random white shield that you found in Act 2, yeah, it's pretty nerfed. On the other hand, if you're wearing a real shield with real armor rating on it, or real evasion rating on it, it is in fact buffed. Now that that's out of the way, let's talk about some of the changes that I have made to the PoBs here. And of course, like always, all of these PoBs will be available exclusively to my $100 patrons on Patreon. And now that everyone has left an angry comment, disliked the video, and left, I reveal the punchline of the joke. They're completely free and down in the description below. I don't lock good PoBs behind Patreon. I only ever put bad PoBs on Patreon where I was like, yeah, this was an idea I was playing with. Don't do it. It's complete shit, and I'm not going to do it. But when people support on Patreon, it does help me a lot, and it is very appreciated. So this is a fairly simple Ignite Elementalist PoB. The thing that I'm doing that's a little bit spicy is I'm using Shaper of Storms for shock. What have I changed since last time? Well, I labeled everything. I kind of dropped the energy shield idea because in budget gear it didn't seem that great, and I went pure armor. This seems to be more effective health. I'm using an Ember Wake now because the Pyre seemed a little bit too cute, and these are probably still going to be cheap to put Bleeding Cannot Be Inflicted on you on them. If not, maybe I'll go back to the Pyre. I don't know. Depends on Scourge mods, depends on prices. I don't think it's going to interfere with Prolift too much because it does say hits, and I don't hit that hard. I've also fixed some mana issues with the miraculous technology of a Mana Flask. Got Flame Surge in my gloves, Arma Brand in the staff. Immolate might actually be better, might not. Have to play with it for yourself. We've got some nice auras here. Some general utility stuff. Herald of Thunder might help with a clear. Experimenting with it, it's what Dan did. And Dan's character is pretty awesome. Aside of that, not too much has changed. I don't think I was using Apothecary's gloves before. The gear is better than it was. I have upgraded it from a super basic PoB with almost nothing to now these are all decent items, but they're not super insane endgame stuff either. So it's like either a corruption or an influence mod and decent mods. If you want for more basic PoB, go look at my League Start video. If you want what I'm probably going to be playing, what's going to more accurately reflect my character, that's this. Moving on, where do I see the end game for this? Well, what if you just stack armor? Will this work? I honestly have no idea, but it looks insanely tanky. We've got 79% Phys reduction, and that's with a massive 10,000 damage hit. The damage should be enough. Hard to tell, depends on how tanky the content is. If the content's not super tanky, the damage is enough. This PoB will also be in the description below, and you probably don't actually need Brine King. I just put it in there because getting stunned sucks. This is roughly what I'd be doing. Some changes, Thread of Hope over here, and of course, a Cluster Jewel. And don't worry, if Fireburst doesn't end up being good, I do have a backup plan, but I'm going to keep that under wraps until I find out if Fireburst is actually good. And then next up, the build that I have struggled with the most, the Phys Trapper. Max hit taken, effective pool, all not terrible. Let's go over and look at some of the changes. Seismic Trap, I put it on life tap. It's a lot of life. It'll probably be okay. I have 800 regen if I've thrown traps. For this, I decided that I probably don't want charged traps while clearing, but I definitely do want charge traps and single target, so it's just a gem swap. For auras, we're running Grace now. We've got about 37,000 evasion. I'm trying to account for the Grace fix. There's a lot of fixes and custom modifiers now and everywhere because PoB is a mess. There's a fix here because PoB is a mess. The main idea is get some endurance charges. Again, I'm following the same rule, where for the most part, it's not really min-maxed. The only exception is the amulet. I went all out on this amulet. I don't know that you'll actually have it. If you chop off the 22% crit multi, not much changes. The rest is pretty likely. And everything else is basically the rule of decent mods and one influence mod, and I justified the amulet to myself by not having anything on the Vermilion Ring. I'm still deciding on what I want to anoint, because if I come over to the tree and look at damage, probably going to be a bit wrong, but crit's looking pretty good, something like Annihilation, or where is it over here? Arcane Potency. On the other hand, I could just go with a defensive anoint. I could go with something like Golem's Blood. I haven't decided. I will decide before the video goes live, so stay tuned. My anointment choice will be a mystery. Aside of that, I think that this is the most tried and true. This has the most information, but at the same time, it's the most boring from a content creation standpoint. And this is where I'm going to run into a little bit of a concern. I really do like the Ghost Dance tech. I really like this idea. But the question is it going to become, are you playing Ziz's blank? Are you playing Darky's blank? Are you playing Balor Mage's blank? This is the problem that I always run into with builds, where it becomes incredibly frustrating. Because it's not like I go around to every content creator going, must steal builds! In fact, most of the time, I don't even know their build exists, because I looked at 5 random people on Pewee Ninja from last league, then made my own thing. So where's this going to go, and what am I going to choose? Ultimately, I don't know. I'm still very undecided between the Phys Trapper and between the Ignite Elementalist. On one hand, I'm very much leaning towards the Ignite Elementalist. I think it's really cool, and I like a lot of the ideas. Plus, the idea of being an Elementalist who has a max hit taken of 120,000, that just seems hilarious to me. Like, who wouldn't want to play that? Of course, I died a Chaos Dot incredibly quickly, which means poison's a problem, and I might have to sacrifice a flask suffix for that, but you know, sometimes sacrifices have to be made. Oh right, I forgot. There we go. Oh, it doesn't change. I'm already effectively mitigating all the damage. Good to know. So, ultimately, what am I going to do? Well, I'm going to start something. It's probably going to be one of these builds. It could be something else random if I come across a PoB that looks super awesome. I think these will both lead to a great league start. If you want to mostly kill bosses, you want to mostly focus on single target damage, and you don't mind the fact that if you make a mistake, you could very easily die for it, the Phys Trapper's looking very strong. On the other hand, if you want something that clears maps super quickly, and might actually be a little bit more forgiving when it comes to mistakes, I'd actually go for the Elementalist. And of course, if you want something else that's super forgiving, you can go with the Shield Crush character from my last video, which should honestly be even more forgiving and even more beginner-friendly in less gear. Because the less geared version of the Elementalist, the max hit taken isn't super impressive, which means if you make a mistake in dangerous content, you're probably getting blown up. So those are my thoughts on what I'm going to league start, and a few more details from the PoBs, especially with a focus on some of the defensive layers and the things that I changed since my league start video. I wish you all the best of luck on league start, and, well, you can always tune into my live stream, which will be going live shortly before the league does, and see what I ended up choosing. But for now, best of luck in Scourge, and stay sane, Exiles. Or don't, your choice. Thank you for watching. And again, a special thanks to my patrons and YouTube channel members. If you want to support me, you can do so by clicking the links down in the description below, or on screen right now. You can also support by making purchases through my Nexus page. Or if you just want to chill and hang out, be sure to join the Discord. Again, links for everything are down in the description below. Thank you, and have a great day.